Let's go around the grounds for Greenworks. Greenworks, Australia's ultimate battery-powered garden brand. Last night, it was Melbourne by 20 points, 12-11, 83 to 9-9, 63 against Richmond. Max Gawn won the medal.
Hey, before we get to that, let's get back to some of these text messages. Give me a hard time about wanting another key forward. Now, if there's a key back that's good enough, ready to go, to have an impact, by all means, West Coast should explore that option as well. But if you look at what they did through the supplemental period, they picked up Sandy Brock, who they thought was the best key back at that particular stage. You're probably not going to find them in this draft. I think you go for somebody that, you might be able to train up, becomes one of your best key forwards. You might be able to use him in the ruck, and you might just turn him into a player that you might trade in the future. So you've got to take the very, very best, and you might get a good result back from that. But I'm happy to go with Floyd. What do you call him? Mayweather? No, the Burmeister. Yeah. The Burmeister.
And interesting enough, we had a hammer in on Wednesday, and we asked the question, would you rather be West Coast or North Melbourne? And we talked about, and it got us talking about North Melbourne's lack of key defenders and drafting midfielders only, which they have. Everyone said, what about Dawson and Whitlock? And I said, yeah, but that's now. That's your last two drafts. What about 5 years ago when you've been getting free hits all the time? All you did, and you went and got Aiden Core from GWS, just a player, Griffin Lowe, again, just a player. Now they've both been dropped. On the week that we were critical of North Melbourne's lack of foresight with the key defender in the draft and having someone ready right now, North Melbourne fans and the 17 North Melbourne fans, they came for us, right? They absolutely came for us big time on socials and on our show. And guess what? He who laughs last loudest and longest.
About time they did something here, the North Melbourne, because we've been whinging about their defensive structure and Aiden Core and Luke McDonald and throw in Griffin Lowe as well into that mix. But every single week the same group is backed in. Are we starting to see a change from coaches out there that they're now, or maybe they've always done it, but in this town, we rarely drop players, do we? We haven't seen Adam Simpson really drop one. Justin Longmuir hasn't dropped one in his career, hasn't made a big, tough call on any individual. Maybe this one was coming for a long period of time, but rarely do you see two of them dropped at the same time.
I want you to ask Luke Hodge, if you can. Ask Luke Hodge after 7:30 when he's our guest. I want to ask him about their recruiting of North Melbourne, see what who's going to join us after 7:30. All rightio.
Okay, back to Melbourne. Good last night after half-time, really poor first half, but they found a way, they got there, but it was their leaders that stood up. And I just wonder where their leaders are going to be in the future. And I think 2 weeks ago, we were starting to think that maybe there would be a big exodus at Melbourne and it might be a Richmond-style rebuild, but they're starting to get things together, slight tweaks to the game plan, even though the first half, I didn't think they made any change and they didn't continue on from what they did last week against Fremantle. But their senior players, Petrarca was back to his best. Viney, it seems they've told Viney, don't kick the footy, handball the footy. And that suits his style. He had 15 tackles last night. But they're led by their skipper. And I want to ask you about Max Gawn. Is he the best ruck of this century?
Yeah, I think so.
Past, is it Dean Cox who had the mantle, so he goes past him?
Yep, no doubt. He is awesome. He just gets himself into the right positions at the right time. His work rate is incredible. Simo highlighted him on Fox on Wednesday night where he places the ball as a ruck. He's predictable, but at the same time, he's hard to beat.
So you've seen the greats.
Polly Farmer.
Polly, Stephen Michael, everybody talks about him.
Love Stephen Michael.
Can he be in the conversation with those guys? He could be an 8-time All-Australian at the end of the year.
Yeah, he's certainly up there. He's certainly up there right now in regards to the VFL/AFL as an all-time great. Yeah, without doubt. And the added pressure of being a leader as well. He's a leader. He's not just a ruckman. And they always go to him through thick and thin. Whether things are tough, they wheel out Max, and he's so brave and stoic and stands strong. Yeah, you'd go to war with.
Oh, I loved his comments last week against Fremantle. We ain't losing this game. That would have been the theme all the way through. And you become invested, so you get to quarter time. We ain't losing this game. You get to half time. Boys, we've come this far. Let's keep on going. And for the third quarter and Fremantle are coming, you can just imagine Max just firing that team up. And he backed it up 2 in a row. He's a superstar.
Sat him down for 15 minutes in the last 15 minutes.
Nearly made a bit of a blue there.
I know. Yes, and
he came back
40-odd points down to 20-odd. Ed Langdon had this to say about Max Gawn on AFL Nation.
Yeah, he's amazing. I get a pretty good front seat every week to the Max show, and what he delivers not only on field but off field throughout the week. He's just so invested in the football club, and he's really driving the standards that we want to see. And credit to him. He's in unbelievable form, and he's such a superstar.
Superstar he is.
And some kids coming through too for Melbourne that look pretty good. Langford, Lindsay, Wins has been building as well. It's not all doom and gloom at Melbourne. If they
Richmond?
Richmond, going to take a bit of time, but had a crack, stayed around. They're not getting blown off the park. And I think that's the positive.
3 games in 11 days.
And they still we haven't seen a lot of their kids. I think Smilly's getting closer. Josh Smilly, one of their early picks, so you put him in there. Sam Lawler looks a little bit tired, didn't have a big impact last night. Just on that, can Murphy Reid win it? Can he win the Rising Star?
Oh, yeah. I don't think he can win it as a locked-in forward 50 player. I'd like to see him just get a little bit of a taste of it up on a wing somewhere.
Keep the numbers up through the midfield. But the score involvements is what separates him at the moment.
Yeah, he's a beautiful player. I like him. He was a guest on our show earlier in the week. All righty, let's get our teeth into the rest of the round. It starts this afternoon at 1:20 our time. So that's over 6 hours' time. Houston, Membry and Sullivan in for Collingwood. They lose more injured. Cox and Allen have been omitted. Langford returns for Essendon. It's a big in. Goldstein has to ruck. They've lost Draper and Ella Hawley.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult without Sam Draper. He's been in really good form. They get Langford back. I like Langford. He's an important player for the Bombers. He kicks goals every single week and he'll take a fair bit of pressure off. But Collingwood, I think they're just going very nicely at the moment. And they're experienced, they're mature, they get older. Dan Houston comes in, Membry back into the team as well. Darcy Moore, a bit of an out, of course, given his season. He's one that's really driven this because he was off last year, had a very poor season. He's come back in. And what about Ed Allen? Tim, where do you see him?
Just going, Ed.
Do you think he could be a target for West Coast?
What does he bring? I don't know what he brings. To be honest, I haven't seen enough of him at any level. I saw him at Waffle Colts level and thought, wow, what a player. But yeah, he's being starved of opportunity, but very hard to get into that team. Just want to take you to this one. John, who's a very learned listener, he said, take it to the bank. What? To the bank that Gawn will not fly to Perth and the Dees will give him a mini extended break before playing the Hawks. The Dees will play with Campbell and Fullerton. No way. They'll lose.
No way. Absolutely.
If Gawn doesn't play, they lose.
Yep. They're getting better, but you cannot be taking risks like that. And if they lost to West Coast, that's curtains. And for many of those players, you've got to be careful how you handle Melbourne towards the back end of the year because if it goes pear-shaped from here, it will be that max exodus out of the footy club. If they can hold it together, keep winning, keep in the mix for finals, then maybe Simon Goodwin survives.
Paul says, I take Tim's point about the shorter break for West Coast going into round 8, but you're forgetting that this round they have the advantage as they played Friday and Hawthorn played on Monday. Yeah, but Paul, my point is, why play the game twilight on a Sunday? Why not play it lunchtime, first game, and get them home so they can get home?
Are they trying to give Hawthorn more of a break?
But they didn't travel. They've gone from the MCG to Marvel. No, I'm not giving them they're not flying anywhere. No, you've lost the plot, Paul.
Hey, Fremantle tonight taking on Adelaide. Wagner, Chapman. Narkle comes in. We've got a few text messages about Narkle. I'm excited.
Me too.
About Narkle. I think he's going to give them something a little bit different.
Yeah,
he can play in a few different positions. Aish, O'Meara, Banfield, easy outs really, isn't it? Stock standard outs.
Yep.
Well, I would have loved to see a statement.
Poor James Aish. He's the Troy Longmuir of the modern time. Last in, first out.
He's been a good player, Aish, but he's been phased out in recent times and perhaps got his opportunity last week because nobody else was there. And if Heath Chapman didn't fall ill, he probably wouldn't have played.
Rochelle and Peatling come in. Fogarty goes out injured. Berry.
Yeah, it's a big one, Fogarty out. If you got 3 of them, I think that would have really stretched the defence of Fremantle. But all week, we've just heard it from Fremantle, contest and defence. So there will be a big focus on that. I think, Tim, it's going to lead to a limited amount of risk-taking from Fremantle. They're not going to want to give up many goals from their back half through their ball use, so I don't think they're going to be very expansive with the way that they move the ball. That could frustrate some fans, but if you're reading the tea leaves and you're listening to what's coming out of Fremantle, they're getting back to where they were in 2022, where it's all about contest, play the ball in your front half, don't take too many chances and risks from your back half. So we'll see how that plays out. But they need to improve their forward pressure, the Dockers. They've been really average this year. Last week, they only had 4 tackles inside their forward 50. Melbourne had 27, and they're ranked 14th for forward 50 pressure and tackles in the competition. If you're Adelaide, I think you're putting some work into Sarong. I think the blueprint is there. Try and take him out of the game. You can't fully take him out. He'll still get his 25. But I think Sarong getting 25 compared to 35 is a big difference. Run off Darcy. I think Max Gawn showed that. I think you want to fatigue Darcy, run off, try and make the play, and that will be a good battle in the ruck as well. And, of course, Josh Tracy. He's the one that's been getting it done in the forward line. Put some pressure into him. For Adelaide, been impressed with their small forward work rate. Ben Keys. Is he underrated in your eyes, or where do you rate Ben Keys?
I just think he's an exciting player. He gives all. He gives
Absolute
his all. Gives his all.
You know, a couple of years ago, free agent. I wish West Coast would have had a real crack at Ben Keys. He's exactly the player that could have gone back into the midfield, because every player wants to play in the midfield, but he's been pigeonholed as a forward, and geez, he's made a good fist of it. He's one of the best in the competition. Neil Bullen's added a bit as well. I worry that Isaac Rankin is pretty similar to Cozzy Pickett, and Cozzy Pickett destroyed them last week. So Isaac Rankin, Rochelle, those sort of types that might flip between midfield and the forward line will be a challenge for the Dockers. No Fogarty really hurts. It's going to be up to Walker, who's his birthday. It's his birthday today.
Taylor Walker, Tex, yeah.
And Phil Thorpe. And Dan Curtin could be the key to this game. He gets a chance to step up as the third forward instead of the fourth forward. He's been improving every single week. We did have a text come through a little bit earlier about Dan Curtin and where I saw him. I think he's improving. Will he be a target? Yeah, he could be a target for West Coast. He might be that defender in the future.
All righty, so you're tipping?
Fremantle at home.
So, Scotty, Melbourne, Collingwood, Freo for you tipped Melbourne last night, I would imagine. Yes. Collingwood and Freo for Scotty. All right, St Kilda, they take on Brisbane. Dougal Howard and Isaac Keeler in for Arish Gunmaker, and Liam Henry's been omitted. I think his career is on the precipice. And Lohman returns from injury for Sam Marshall.
They want to bounce back. Well, both teams want to bounce back. They're both very ordinary last week, but I'm going to stick with the away team here, Brisbane. Too much class, but I think Saints will be in this for a long way. You?
No, they're no good, St Kilda. They let me down last week horribly.
Yeah.
They were woeful. And a lot of people saying, Jack Steele and Jack Sinclair.
Where's Jack Steele?
Where's Jack Steele? Well, he's not fit. Something's not right.
He's had a pretty big decline in recent seasons.
And if things are going well for St Kilda, Jack Sinclair is, he's the divide and conquer. He slides through. He's a good user of the football. But if he doesn't get his hands on the footy, he doesn't run. There's not a lot of run. And then Wanganeen Malera, when he went into the middle, he's the receiver of the ball. He's
not
the extractor,
is he?
No.
Hey, Liam Henry, omitted.
Yeah, no, he's in trouble. He got subbed out almost before half time the other day. No, he's in trouble, mate. He just they don't look well. They don't look well as a team. I don't know what it is. Hey, Joe Richards, Finlayson and Joe Berry come in. So all the J's, the Triple J, Joe, Jeremy and Joe back in. For Rory Atkins, Boak is out and Cochrane's also injured. Callan Dawson, Jackson Archer and Riley Hardiman in for North Melbourne. And there's some big names out. Core and Lowe, their key defenders, Gonski and Zach Fisher's done a pinger.
Yeah, big changes. Aidan Call, Griffin Logue. I think it's the right way to go. Like, we've been talking about this defence and how poor they've been for a long time. You've got to find players. There'll be some short-term pain with that, but I think they'll be better. They have to show something. Otherwise, Alistair Clarkson's going to go through the ringer again. But Port Adelaide have proven that they're back on the right track, and all of a sudden everyone's pretty happy with the handover between Ken Hinkley and Josh Carr. So I think at home it'll be Port by about 30.
Yes, and also it is Port for Scotty as well. All righty, we'll get this last one out the way. Jesse Hogan returns. He was laid out last week for Callum Brown. Busling comes in for his debut. Good on you, Jedley. Vandermeer.
Debuting this weekend.
You are debuting. Nice work, Jetty. Harms and Vandermeer. Liam Jones, there's a big statement right there. And Lockie McNeil has been... Is he injured? He's out of the team, I know that. And
injured.
We know Sam Darcy's out as well. This is a big game. This is a huge game. This is in Manuka where they make honey.
He's been going well, Luke Beveridge and the Bulldogs. I think I criticised him and a few criticised him last year for making some big calls on Jack McRae, and we saw Caleb Daniel was left out. He's got that spot on because the midfield is humming. I love Ed Richards in there. We get to have a look at Jed Buslinger, and I think there's ramifications with West Coast with Buslinger. He would be a target, I reckon, if he doesn't get many opportunities. He's a nice size, and he's been getting some really good numbers in the VFL. He does replace Liam Jones, which is a big call. But they're, again, not afraid to make a big call. Luke Beveridge on a senior player. I love to see that, and he'll get a response. But the Giants are the real deal. Jesse Hogan back in. And after a pretty disappointing game last week against Adelaide, I think they'll be responding.
Giants will respond. Western Bulldogs for Scotty. Hey, I don't know if I've seen this or whether it was... Has Rory Lobb shaved his head? He's now completely bald. So he's gone from... the blonde to the blue to the lobster to the Children's Hospital logo, which is fantastic.
No, there's Woof Woof in there as well.
Oh, yeah, my mail is that he's completely gone nude nut. Like, it's gone completely. Completely nude. Correct? Yeah. Hang on, it's on the screen. We're told it's on our little screen here. Confirm. Yep,
There it is.
that.
Oh, that is.
He's gone completely nude.
Boy.
Anyway, he's attracting attention. But anyway, he's playing some good footy and his best footy's down back. Do they have the risk of temptation of pushing him forward with no Darcy?
There is, absolutely. But he has been pretty good. He wouldn't want to go forward. I think he's pretty happy and settled playing some good footy, but you've got to do the team thing. Aaron Norton, the weight falls on him. Is Aaron Norton the most labour-intensive forward in the competition? He needs 7 shots
He was good the
to
other
get
way.
3.
He was good the other way.
Yeah, he played well, but he should have kicked 6 last week. This is what he does. He drops marks, misses easy shots, but at least he was flying for the footy and getting opportunities last week.
Josh has chimed in. Yes, Josh. You're not that type of pinger, Josh. Hamstring pinger I'm talking about.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Jesus, Josh.
I know, Josh. Come on from Maida. It might happen out at Maida Vale, Josh, but not here in the studios. Let's get a breakaway. It's 7:20. Let's continue thanks to Greenworks Power, Greenworks Quality, Greenworks Range. Your ultimate battery power garden brand is now here. Plenty of people out in the garden this weekend. Gold Coast take on Sydney. Of course, the news that Chad Warner has re-signed for 2 more years. Fiorini had 58 touches in the VFL on the weekend. Moyle and Closey come back in. Payton, and Laddams and Sheldrick for Sydney. No ins or outs officially yet.
Does that mean Chad Warner bounces back to some form? Because he needs to.
Think so.
He needs to. And I think they need to give him some more midfield time. He's been pushed to the half-forward line, which is a difficult position to play. And for your stars, you want maximum effort, particularly when you've got Goulden out and you've got Isaac Heaney, who isn't having a great season, and maybe Isaac Heaney needs to spend more time closer to goal. And Tom McCartan, it's been mentioned that he will go back to defence. He won't be moved around again. So I think Dean Cox, well done, Dean Cox, tried something, didn't work, and happy to say that he got it wrong. But it is difficult for defenders to become forwards. It's easier for forwards to become defenders. And when I mentioned that West Coast should get another key forward, well, you've got all those other players that might be able to become good defenders. And if Rory Lobb can do it, there's others that I think can do it at the West Coast Eagles. But this is a massive game for Sydney. If they lose this, then all of a sudden it becomes hard to imagine them making a play for finals. But Gold Coast will respond after last week's really poor performance. On the Gold Coast, I think Gold Coast midfield will be too strong.
Harry Mackay, Lachlan Cowan, Sam Doherty have been named. Whether they play or not is a different thing. For Carlton, Ocean Mullen, Wilshire, Duncan and Jai Clark in. Of course, Brian Myers is missing.
Who are you going, Tim?
Geelong, with some reticence. I still think Carlton's best is good enough to give everyone a shake.
They need a big scalp, don't they, Carlton, just to get their season back on track. This could be it. Well, they've had 6-day break coming off the big Easter Monday clash. It was a physical clash, good game against the Hawks. Carlton finally, we're starting to see a little bit from their small forwards. It's been their Achilles heel in recent times. They had a number of goal kickers last week, led by Motlop, who kicked the 3 goals. They're going to need to be at their very best. But I'll just go safe. I'll go with the Cats.
All righty. Bailey McDonald, Henry Huswaite will definitely play. Finn McGuinness and Jack Ginnivan in. Connor Nash is suspended for a month. Tom Cole, Oscar Allen, Brockman, Long and Brock are in for West Coast. Harry Edwards and Tim Kelly has a foot injury.
What do you make of Tyler Brockman and Noah Long? Have they gone back and done enough to warrant being selected?
No, they have not.
No, they haven't.
So I suggest I think they might come in. I think it'd be interesting to see how they do what they do with Tom Gross. I mean, he played a quarter last week and barely touched it. Hamish Davis is going to be okay. I just don't reckon he's quite ready. Dewar doesn't do enough. Hewitt, yes. Jack Williams will play. So out of the bench. So the bench is at the moment Hewitt, Brockman, Long, Gross, Jack Williams, Davis, Brock and Dewar. You'd say Hewitt and Jack Williams are the only certainties. It's going to be hard to find out who else is going to play.
He was the big plus, wasn't he? Hewitt last week, outstanding in that second half. And particularly in the first half where he struggled. He was struggling to pick up the pace of the game, then turned it on. Some real positive signs there. But for West Coast, number 17 and 18 at contested possession and clearance. So you can't win games of footy unless you get that part right. Hawthorn currently stand at 5th and 7th in those categories. So they do have an advantage. But no Will Day, no Connor Nash. All of a sudden, 2 big bodies out of the midfield for the Hawks, which gives the West Coast Eagles a chance in and around the ground. It's a young Hawthorn midfield now. You've got Newcomb in there, you've got Warple, but then you've got a few of those others. McKenzie, who looks a bit like Sam Mitchell in the way that he moves, and Josh Ward is another one. So West Coast will fancy their chances, but Tim Kelly going out certainly hurts a little bit. Need more inside 50s. They're also a team that's got a low tackle count inside their forward 50, and perhaps that is because of the lack of numbers. But Hawthorn, their forward line at the moment is not thriving on all cylinders. You've got you've got Chol up there. Gunston's probably been their most damaging forward in recent times. So if they can limit supply, West Coast will win the game, but I think the Hawks will be slightly too good.
Margin?
42.